Admiral Regina Blackwood stood at the observation deck of Earth Defense Station Omega, her weathered face illuminated by the ethereal glow of humanity's first alien contact. The vessel hanging above Earth defied conventional geometry, a massive lattice of living crystal that pulsed with internal light. After 30 years of searching the cosmos, humanity had finally made contact with an advanced civilization. Energy readings are extraordinary, Admiral Lieutenant Karam Patel reported from his station, dark eyes fixed on streams of data. The crystalline structure appears to be generating its own space-time bubble. Blackwood straightened her uniform, conscious of the weight of this moment. At 62, she'd spent her entire career preparing Earth for first contact. Now that it had arrived, something felt wrong about the visitor's casual approach to Earth's defenses. Open communications, she ordered. Standard first contact protocols. The response was immediate and jarring. A being materialized in the command center, a towering crystal entity that flowed like liquid glass, its core pulsing with emerald light. When it spoke, its words resonated directly in their minds. How quaint. The organic species attempts communication. The crystal being's tone carried the same warmth one might use with a particularly slow child. I am Vector Prime Zyxtal of the Crystalline Syndicate. We have been observing your stumbling attempts at technological progress for some time. Blackwood maintained her diplomatic composure. On behalf of Earth, we welcome you. We hope to establish peaceful relations and perhaps learn. Learn? Zyxtal's crystalline form chimed with what could only be laughter. What could beings still bound by organic matter hope to learn? Your most advanced quantum computers are less sophisticated than our children's playthings. Your attempts at faster-than-light travel are like watching insects try to build a starship. In the background, Dr. Rashmi Varma's fingers flew across her console, gathering every scrap of data possible while the alien remained focused on its mockery. Blackwood noticed her subtle nod, they were learning more than their arrogant visitor realized. Nevertheless, Zyxtal continued, the Syndicate has designated your solar system as a protected reservation for developing species. You may continue your experiments within these boundaries. Do try not to destroy yourselves. We find your struggles entertaining. After the transmission ended, Blackwood turned to her team. Report. Their arrogance made them careless, Dr. Varma said, excitement creeping into her voice. They never bothered masking their basic operating principles. These readings, there's something strange about their technology. They're manipulating reality at a quantum level, yes, but there's an underlying pattern they seem completely unaware of. Blackwood studied the data scrolling across her screen. Can you get this to Dr. Thomas Wright at Project Infinity? Quietly. Already encrypting the transmission, Varma nodded. But Admiral. Project Infinity is classified beyond my clearance level. I'm not supposed to know it exists. Then this conversation never happened. Blackwood turned to gaze at the crystalline vessel still gleaming like a malevolent star above their world. They think we're primitive animals fumbling in the dark. Let's show them how dangerous it can be to underestimate humanity's capacity for growth. In a hidden facility beneath the Atacama Desert, Dr. Thomas Wright would soon receive a data packet that would change everything. The Crystalline Syndicate thought humans were playing with toys, but they would soon learn that sometimes the most profound discoveries come from seeing with fresh eyes, unbound by millennia of assumptions. Blackwood allowed herself a small smile. Route all Syndicate communications through deep analysis, she ordered. Every scrap of data, every energy signature, every quantum fluctuation. If they're going to treat us like insects, let's show them how much damage a swarm can do. The crystalline ship hung in orbit like a monument to technological superiority, unaware that its very presence had already sown the seeds of its own humbling. Humanity had been contained, restricted, and dismissed, and history showed that nothing spurred human innovation quite like being told what they couldn't do. In the depths of his underground laboratory, Dr. Wright stood before a wall of holographic equations, his silver hair reflecting the soft blue light. The data from the syndicate ship had confirmed what his team had suspected for years: reality wasn't what anyone thought it was, not even their advanced visitors. They're so focused on quantum mechanics, he whispered to himself, that they've missed the music. The real work was about to begin. Deep beneath the Atacama's endless sands, Project Infinity hummed with possibility. Dr. Thomas Wright stood in the central chamber of humanity's most advanced research facility, watching as experimental equipment probed the boundaries of existence. After 3 months of studying the crystalline syndicate's data, they had found something unprecedented. Another anomaly in Sector 4, Dr. Yuki Tanaka reported, her hands dancing through holographic controls. The quantum particles aren't just entangling, they're resonating with something fundamental. Not something, Wright corrected, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. Everything. He gestured to the complex web of equations floating before them. The syndicate is so focused on quantum manipulation that they've completely missed the underlying symphony. The secure terminal chimed with new data from orbital sensors monitoring the syndicate's reservation boundary. Yuki pulled up the feed, her expression shifting from concentration to wonder. Look at this, Thomas. The way they're bending spacetime, it's brutally inefficient. They're forcing their way through reality because they don't see the harmony. Exactly, Wright said, pulling up their latest experimental results alongside the syndicate data. Where they see only quantum equations, we've discovered music, a cosmic symphony of interconnected forces that makes quantum mechanics look like a single note in a universal chord. He reached out, adjusting a parameter in their prototype field generator. The air shimmered as invisible forces realigned themselves, not fought against, but moved with. Get Admiral Blackwood down here. It's time. Hours later, Blackwood stood in the observation room, watching as reality itself seemed to bend around Project Infinity's prototype device. Explain it to me in simple terms, Doctor. Wright gestured to the shimmering field of possibility before them. The syndicate treats the universe like a wall they have to punch through. We've discovered that reality is more like a flowing river. If you understand the currents, you don't need to fight them at all. Can we weaponize it? Blackwood asked, ever the strategist. Better, Wright smiled. We can transcend it. The syndicate is trapped in their understanding of physics. They've spent so long manipulating quantum mechanics that they've become blind to the deeper reality it emerges from. It's like they're masters of building with blocks but have never discovered architecture. The prototype pulsed, and for a moment everyone in the room felt reality shift, not in the brutal way syndicate ships tore through space, but like a gentle parting of curtains revealing something vast beyond. We're not going to beat them at their own game, Wright continued. We're going to change the game entirely. While they're forcing their way through the quantum realm, we'll be swimming in currents they don't even know exist. Construction began immediately on a full-scale test vessel. Unlike the crystalline ships of the syndicate, this one was built around a core of curved space itself, held in place by fields tuned to frequencies the aliens had never imagined. They named it the Odyssey, humanity's first step into a larger understanding of reality. But as the project progressed, troubling reports arrived from the boundary of humanity's reservation. The syndicate was agitated, their patrols increasing. Long-range sensors detected something massive approaching from deep space, something that made even syndicate quantum signatures look primitive in comparison. How long until the ship is ready? Blackwood asked, watching construction through the facility's observation deck. 2 weeks for basic testing, Wright replied, but his expression was troubled. He pulled up the latest sensor data. Behind the obvious readings of syndicate activity, there was something else, something that made their theoretical models scream in protest. The syndicate wasn't just patrolling. They were running from something. In his private lab that night, Wright reviewed the data again. The patterns were clear now, cosmic currents shifting in ways that suggested something vast was moving through the deeper reality they'd discovered. The syndicate, for all their technological might, were like people standing on a beach, proudly declaring their mastery of the sand while being blind to the tsunami approaching. 2 weeks, he muttered, diving back into his work. Let's hope that's enough time. The Odyssey cast impossible shadows in Project Infinity's cavernous hangar. Where syndicate vessels gleamed with crystalline perfection, this ship seemed to drink in light, its surface covered in patterns that made the eye slide away in confusion. In the depths of the desert, they hadn't just advanced technology, they had fundamentally changed their understanding of reality itself. And none too soon. For in the darkness between stars, something was coming that would test not just humanity's new discovery, but the very limits of what was possible in this universe or any other. Captain Isabella Rodriguez had seen countless simulations of the Odyssey, but nothing prepared her for the reality. Standing in the hangar of Project Infinity, she struggled to process what she was seeing. After 15 years in Earth's defense forces, she thought she'd seen everything. She was wrong. The ship defied conventional physics, its hull seemed to exist in multiple places simultaneously, geometric patterns flowing like water across its surface. Where syndicate ships commanded attention with their crystal brilliance, the Odyssey seemed to apologize for existing, its form suggesting to the eye that it should look somewhere else. Remarkable, isn't it? Dr. Wright appeared beside her, his face haggard from weeks of sleepless nights. The patterns aren't decorative, they're mathematical expressions of the underlying reality we discovered. The ship isn't just traveling through space, it's dancing with it. The currents you mentioned before? Rodriguez asked, remembering her first briefing. Exactly. We're not pushing against spacetime like the Syndicate. We're becoming part of its flow. Wright gestured to the ship's seamless hull. Every part of the Odyssey is designed to work with the universe's fundamental harmonics, not against them. The facility's alarms suddenly blared to life. Admiral Blackwood's voice crackled over the intercom, Dr. Wright, Captain Rodriguez, Command Center now. They found Blackwood standing before a wall of holographic displays, her expression grim. The screen showed a Syndicate patrol fleet approaching Earth's reservation boundary at high speed. Behind them, space itself seemed to twist and fold. They're running, Blackwood said simply. Whatever's chasing them, they're breaking their own quarantine protocols to escape it. The main screen showed the pursuing entity, if it could be called that. It appeared as a tear in reality itself, a moving void that consumed light, matter, and even the quantum fluctuations the Syndicate used for transport. That's not just bending spacetime, Wright breathed, studying the readings. It's digesting it, breaking down the fundamental forces that hold reality together. A transmission cut through their discussion. The familiar crystalline form of Vector Prime Zyxtal appeared, but now fractured and desperate. Earth Command, we request temporary sanctuary within your system. The entity pursuing us, it consumes everything. Even our highest dimensional technologies cannot. The transmission dissolved into static as another Syndicate ship vanished into the approaching void. How long until the Odyssey is ready? Blackwood asked. Final system integration was scheduled for next week, Wright replied, already moving toward the exit. We can have it operational in 12 hours, but we'll be going in blind. Theory time is over, Rodriguez interrupted. That thing will be here in 18 hours. We launch in 12. The next 11 hours passed in a blur of activity. Rodriguez selected her crew, a mix of military personnel and scientists, each chosen not just for their skills but for their ability to adapt to impossible situations. Wright worked with his team to compress weeks of planned testing into a few precious hours. The Odyssey hummed to life, its quantum core harmonizing with the underlying frequencies of spacetime itself. Unlike the brute force approach of Syndicate ships, it felt like becoming one with the cosmic dance Wright had discovered. All systems nominal, reported Lieutenant Kai Zhang from his station. Reality interface stable. We're actually doing this, Rodriguez whispered, taking her place in the command chair. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, each person aware they were about to attempt something unprecedented in human history. Captain, Dr. Tanaka called from her science station. I'm detecting something strange in the entity's wake. The void isn't just destroying reality, it's consuming information itself. The fundamental patterns that make up spacetime are being erased. Wright's face went pale. It's worse than we thought. This isn't just an attack on our universe, it's an attack on the possibility of existence itself. Before Rodriguez could respond, a new alarm sounded. The void had accelerated, tearing through the Syndicate's fleet like tissue paper. Their estimated arrival time had just dropped from 6 hours to 2. "Launch now," Blackwood ordered from the command center. "Whatever you're going to do with that ship, do it fast. We're out of time." The Odyssey rose from its berth, reality rippling around it like water. As they ascended through the atmosphere, Rodriguez watched the tactical display with growing concern. The Syndicate ships were being consumed one by one, their supposedly invincible technology useless against something that operated on a deeper level of reality. "Take us into the currents, Dr. Wright," Rodriguez ordered. "Let's see what this ship can really do." Wright nodded, his hands moving across the controls. "Everyone, brace yourselves. We're about to do something that's never been attempted in the history of any species we know of." The Odyssey's engines pulsed once, and suddenly they were swimming in the cosmic currents Wright had discovered, not forcing their way through space like the Syndicate, but flowing with the fundamental patterns of reality itself. Through the view screen, they watched as reality twisted in ways human eyes were never meant to process. They weren't just moving through space anymore, they were moving through the fabric of existence itself. And ahead of them, growing larger with each passing moment, the void waited, a cancer in the flesh of the universe, hungry for everything that was or could be. The real test of humanity's discovery was about to begin. The void loomed before the Odyssey like a wound in reality itself. Through the ship's enhanced sensors, Captain Rodriguez watched as the last surviving Syndicate vessels desperately maneuvered to stay ahead of the expanding darkness. Their once proud crystalline forms were now cracked and dulled, leaking quantum energy into space. "The Syndicate ships are hailing us," Lieutenant Zhang reported, his voice tight with tension. "All frequencies." On screen, Rodriguez ordered. Vector Prime Zwextal's image appeared, but the being's crystalline form was almost unrecognizable. Deep fractures ran through its structure, and its once brilliant core flickered weakly. "Earth vessel," it transmitted, all previous arrogance gone from its voice. "Your ship, it moves unlike anything we've ever encountered. How are you?" "The physics you've mastered is just the surface," Dr. Wright interrupted, stepping forward. "Reality is deeper than quantum mechanics. We saw the patterns you missed because we weren't blinded by millennia of assumptions." "Impossible," Zwextal whispered. "You were contained. Primitive. We gave you boundaries." A massive shudder ran through the transmission as another Syndicate ship vanished into the void. The tactical display showed only 3 crystalline vessels remaining from their once mighty fleet. "Dr. Tanaka," Rodriguez called. "What are we looking at?" Yuki's hands flew across her console, analyzing the readings from the void. "It's like a cascade failure in the fundamental structure of spacetime itself. The entity isn't just destroying matter and energy, it's unwriting the laws that make existence possible." "Can we stop it?" Rodriguez asked. Wright studied the complex patterns flowing across his display. "Maybe. The void is moving against the currents of reality, that's why it leaves destruction in its wake. But the Odyssey." He looked up, a glimmer of hope in his tired eyes. "We might be able to use the currents to contain it." "How?" Zwextal demanded. "Our most powerful weapons pass right through it. We cannot even affect it." "Because you're trying to fight it directly," Wright explained. "We need to work with the fundamental harmonics of space itself. Captain, if we can generate a resonance pattern using the Odyssey's dimensional drive." Another alarm blared. "Entity accelerating," Zhang reported. "Impact with the nearest Syndicate vessel in 30 seconds. Rodriguez made her decision. "Dr. Wright, whatever you're going to try, do it now." Lieutenant Zhang, move us between the Void and the Syndicate ships. Captain, Wright warned, if this doesn't work, then we'll have died trying to save life itself, Rodriguez finished. Proceed. The Odyssey's engines pulsed as Wright initiated his desperate plan. Reality rippled around them as the ship's systems began generating a complex interference pattern in the fabric of spacetime itself. Pattern at 30%, Tanaka reported. The Void is responding, it's changing course. Through the view screen, they watched as tendrils of darkness reached toward them, drawn by the Odyssey's manipulation of the cosmic currents. The Void seemed almost curious, as if encountering something it couldn't immediately consume. Pattern at 60%, Tanaka continued. Dimensional stress increasing. Hull integrity holding, but the strain on the reality interface is. A blinding flash of light cut her off as the Void made contact with their generated field. For a moment that felt like eternity, the bridge crew experienced reality from every possible angle simultaneously. Rodriguez felt herself existing across multiple dimensions, her consciousness stretched to the breaking point. Pattern at 90%. Tanaka's voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The Void is being contained by the resonance field, but our power systems are redlining. Hold course. Rodriguez ordered, fighting to maintain her grip on normal space. Dr. Wright, what's happening? Wright's fingers danced across his console, making minute adjustments to the field. We're not just containing it, we're communicating with it. The patterns, they're like a language written in the structure of reality itself. The Void's tendrils wrapped around their containment field, probing, testing. Images began flashing across the bridge screens, impossible geometries, mathematical concepts that human minds were never meant to process. It's ancient, Wright whispered, staring at the data streaming past. So ancient it remembers when the laws of physics were still being written. It's been consuming realities, trying to return the universe to a state of pure possibility, before structure, before laws, before existence itself crystallized into its current form. Can we stop it? Rodriguez asked again. Wright's expression changed as revelation dawned. We already are. Our field isn't just containing it, it's showing it another way. The same currents we discovered, the ones that make our ship possible, they're showing it that structure and freedom can coexist. That reality doesn't have to be a prison. The Void's attack began to slow, its endless hunger meeting something it had never encountered before, an alternative to destruction. But as hope began to rise on the bridge, a new alarm shattered the moment. Power systems critical. Zhang shouted. The reality interface is starting to collapse. They had shown the Void a new path, but now they had to survive long enough to see if it would take it. Time seemed to lose all meaning aboard the Odyssey as reality itself trembled on the edge of transformation. The Void's tendrils had wrapped completely around their containment field, creating a sphere of absolute darkness shot through with threads of impossible light. Power reserves at 12%, Lieutenant Zhang reported, his voice steady despite the strain. Reality interface failing. Captain Rodriguez watched as hairline fractures began appearing in the air itself, the fabric of space struggling under the pressure of their desperate gambit. Dr. Wright, we need options. Wright stood before his console, silver hair floating in defiance of gravity as local physics continued to break down. The Void is still communicating, still processing what we've shown it. But we need more power to maintain the field until... Until what? Rodriguez demanded. Until it understands. Dr. Tanaka's voice cut through the chaos. She pointed to her display where complex patterns danced across the screen. Look at the Void's response patterns. They're shifting, becoming more ordered. It's learning. A massive tremor shook the ship. Power at 8%, Zhang updated. Hull integrity compromised on decks 4 through 7. Through the view screen, they watched as the remaining syndicate ships hung motionless, their crystalline forms reflecting the impossible light show before them. Vector Prime Zewextal's voice crackled through the calm, Earth vessel, we were wrong about you. Our arrogance blinded us to possibilities we never imagined. Tell us how we can help. Wright's eyes lit up. The Syndicate ships, their quantum matrices. If we can synchronize their energy signatures with our containment field. Do it, Rodriguez ordered. The next few minutes were a blur of coordinated chaos as Wright worked with the Syndicate vessels to integrate their quantum technologies into the Odyssey's field. Where before they had tried to force their way through reality, now they learned to flow with it, following humanity's lead in a dance of pure possibility. Power stabilizing, Jean reported with disbelief. The Syndicate's energy is harmonizing with our field. On the main screen, the void's darkness began to change. Patterns of light emerged from within it, not fighting against the darkness but becoming part of it. The entity that had sought to unmake reality was discovering a new way to exist within it. It's beautiful, Tanaka whispered. Where there had been hunger, there was now curiosity. Where there had been destruction, there was transformation. The void was learning what humanity had discovered, that the universe wasn't a prison of rigid laws, but a dance of infinite possibility. Look. Wright pointed to his readings. The void, it's not just accepting the pattern, it's enhancing it. It's showing us structures of reality we never dreamed existed. The bridge crew watched in awe as new dimensions bloomed like flowers in their sensors, each one a different expression of existence itself. The void had been trying to return the universe to pure possibility, but now it was learning to create new possibilities within the existing framework of reality. Message coming through, Jean announced. I don't know how to describe it. The bridge screens filled with images that shifted between mathematics and art, between physics and music. The void was sharing its understanding of reality, not as a thing to be destroyed, but as an endless canvas of creation. Slowly, the darkness began to recede, not into nothingness, but into something new. Where the void had been, a new kind of space remained, one that shimmered with potential, a living intersection of all possibilities. It's leaving, Tanaka confirmed. But it's changed. We all have. The Syndicate ships approached the Odyssey, their crystalline forms now incorporating patterns similar to the human vessel's design. Vector Prime Zewextal's transmission carried none of its former condescension, we owe you more than we can express. Our civilization has existed for millions of years, yet in our pride, we forgot how to learn. You showed all of us, that true advancement comes not from dominating reality, but from dancing with it. Rodriguez smiled. Perhaps that's humanity's gift to the galaxy. We never stopped looking for new ways to see the universe. The quarantine is lifted, Zewextal announced. Earth and humanity are recognized as full members of the galactic community. More than that, as teachers. We have much to learn from you. As the Odyssey turned toward home, its hull still shimming with impossible lights, Dr. Wright stood at his station, watching the new readings from the transformed void. You know, he said quietly, we set out to prove ourselves to the galaxy. Instead, we ended up helping the universe itself evolve. Not bad for a primitive species, Rodriguez replied with a grin. The ship's reality interface hummed with new power as they rode the cosmic currents home. Above them, the stars seemed brighter somehow, as if they too were celebrating the dawn of a new age. Humanity had not only survived its trial by fire, it had helped transform the very nature of existence itself. And in the space where the void had been, new possibilities continued to bloom, a testament to the power of seeing the universe not as something to be conquered, but as a partner in an eternal dance of creation.